Awesome. All right, let's get into it. Sorry about the delay. What that does mean is if anyone's looking in the chat or the description and you are looking at the link for the live questions, that's not going to work on this platform, which is a real shame. I was hoping to be able to invite people in and have them actually ask questions live to me and have a bit of back and forth. I'll have to work on a different solution for that. We might have to do the live stream not through YouTube at all and then post it to YouTube later. I'll work that one out. So for now, let's just get on with the chat about the Voyager here. There's been a lot of questions from patrons, also viewers on here. Drop any questions you've got into the chat. I've seen a couple at the beginning from Ace of Spades. I'll answer those questions for sure. But just a quick introduction. Some of you might not know much about the Voyager, so this is it here, sitting on top of the mothership. So that's the Voyager. It still keeps very much the Burson's design language from recent years. It's a bit taller than the regular Soloist, the Soloist GT that is. One thing I will mention is that it's taller this way, and therefore original owners of some of the very first motherships, it doesn't fit into that shelf. But I believe Burson have a solution for that one if you are an early mothership owner. If you've bought a mothership in the last 6 months or so, it should fit no problems at all. So that's a good thing. Yeah, it definitely is chunky. So the other things to know about here, in terms of inputs, outputs, it's basically the same as the 3X GT Soloist. So you've got on the front, you've got your headset connection there with a mic pass throughout the back. You've got power switch, of course, 6.3, 4.4 mil, 4-pin XLR, I should say. There is no 4.4 mil. So 6.3 mil, 4-pin XLR, your normal display, although, let me plug it in. They've changed, as you can now see, and it doesn't flicker to the naked eye. They've changed it to this kind of bluey sort of looking display, which I quite like. It's a bit more modern in some ways. It differentiates it a bit from a lot of other products out there that use a white or an orange or similar, so I do like that. Beyond that, though, the functionality of the menu is exactly the same as the Soloist 3X or 3GT, if you're familiar with those. Let me just make sure I'm catching up on the comments here. Yep, all good. The other things to show you, I'm just going to unplug it for a second. If we jump around the back, so on the back what you'll see is it's exactly the same as the, I'm just trying to get into the plane of focus here without the light reflecting, it's exactly the same as the Soloist 3X or 3GT, well not the 3GT because that's single-ended, but the 3X GT where we've got a pair of XLR inputs, so you've got two different XLR inputs, two different RCA inputs, you've then got your XLR preamp output, your RCA outputs and also your subwoofer output, so you can run this with a sub and headphones if you want to, particularly if you've got, say, ear speakers of some sort, like Riles. So that's another great option you've got. And yeah, the heatsink down the bottom that Ace of Spades just mentioned, the heatsink down here is for the cooling system. This is not fanless. People are thinking it's fanless because Burson have chosen not to talk much about the fan. There is a fan, but the good news, before you switch off and run away, the good news is that it's actually really, really quiet, and I'll show you that specifically in a moment so you know exactly what I'm talking about. I'll do a live demo for you so you can hear that. But before we get to that, let me pop the case open. I didn't pre-do this so I could manhandle it without dropping the lid. For those who the video has ended, oh, it's probably too late because if your video's ended for you, it's because you haven't caught up to the live bit. So I'll let you find this bit when I realise that there's no point me telling you because you can't see it anyway while it's not live for you or while it looks like it stopped. Okay, where are the screws? There's one. So just like the 3X and the 3GT, you can pop the lid off this one. How this one works is you've got a couple of long screws. You've got 4 normally, this one's only got 2. I should mention actually the reason it's only got 2 I'm guessing is because this was a prototype that Burson kind of rushed over to me so that we could start sharing it with the world. I get no kickbacks from Burson, by the way, it's just that I'm in Melbourne, they're in Melbourne, we've got a good relationship going, and they're great guys to deal with. So the long screws, there's 4 of them normally that go into the device. And once you do that, this lid lifts off, like so. What I learnt the first time I did a patron-only live stream when I very first got this, there's a whole lot of thermal paste. You can probably see it along the edges of the case there, so it connects where the surface of this case connects to the top of the chassis. There's thermal paste to help transfer heat for the heat sinking. And that's a part of how they're going to keep the temperatures down whilst also not having a big loud fan in there. And I say big loud fan, it's all relative. I didn't find the 3X or the 3GT particularly loud, but you could hear it. And I do agree that sometimes if you want a really quiet space or you're listening to quiet music, it is a little tiny bit of an issue in some circumstances. When I first used and reviewed the 3GT and the 3XGT, it very rarely annoyed me, but over time there were just some occasions where I did kind of click it off and go, oh, that's better. So I do understand people coming from the point of view that the fan wasn't ideal, and they have definitely, absolutely 100% improved it with the Voyager. Let me see. Yeah, don't lose those screws, that's for sure. Cool. Oh, hey, Shane, thanks for joining us. So, now that I've popped the top off, this is what the new interior looks like. It's not vastly dissimilar to the old 3GT and 3XGT to look at a glance, but there is a lot going on. Yeah, there's a lot going on. I just saw the comment about me looking like Andre Agassi. There's a lot going on in here that you can now see because the fans aren't there, but a lot of it's quite similar. The key things to note is we've got the SP01 and 02 power supply controller modules there. So this is the already upgraded version with the SP02 in it. As I understand it, when this releases, it's going to be in a couple of different levels. I don't know if this is live on the website yet, but in talking to Burson, they're going to have a couple of different levels available. So you can get it fully upgraded, or you can get more the base level. Even at the base level, it's still going to be different from the 3GT and the 3XGT because it's using a different output stage, which we'll talk about in a moment. And yes, there's a lot of parts in here. So we've got the SP01 and SP02 power modules here. The one up the front's the SP01. You can see it's red. The ones at the back are the grey colour that you can't really see because they're grey. But those are the upgraded ones, the SP02s. And then we've also got the brand new V7 op amps there. Somebody asked me about the sound of the V7s. I can't answer that yet, but Burson have said when they send me the final production version of the Voyager, they're going to send me an extra set of the V7 op amps. And so what I'll be able to do is roll those through some other products. So I'm going to roll it through some of the Gishelli products, the DAC and the headphone amps that take op amps. I'm also going to roll it through the 3 or the 3XGT. I haven't worked that out yet. Possibly some other gear as well. So stay tuned for that one. We'll do a whole V7 op amp review, comparisons, different products, you name it. For now, though, what I wanted to show you is there is no fan here. There's also a lot going on. And then if you have a look through the middle, through the middle here, this line, you can see there's some green things which are resistors. Underneath those resistors, you can see the transistors, and those are screwed directly to a plate through the chassis, which will be sort of sitting somewhere in the middle, kind of along here somewhere. And then what that's doing is it's connecting the hottest part of the device, which is the transistors, to a plate, which is then feeding into these heat sinks. Just make sure I'm not covering myself in thermal paste, into these heat sinks here. And there are a couple of very small fans in there. I say small, I haven't seen them. They sound like small fans if you listen really, really closely, and you have to get really close to hear it. But they're also obviously running at a very slow speed, just gently pushing air through rather than trying to power any air through. And so I might actually start off by actually proving to you how quiet this is compared to the original Soloist. Give me just a second. Oh, there's a big question. Is it better than the Silver Fox? I don't know if I want to answer that before the review comes out. I think probably yes it is, keeping in mind this is the fully upgraded version that I'm working with. There are going to be some people that absolutely love the sound of the Silver Fox for what it delivers. Sorry about the noise. And it's a beautiful, beautiful headphone amp without a doubt. So I've just given a bit of a spoiler away, but not a complete spoiler for the review. The Silver Fox is unique. It's got some real benefits going for it. It's got some challenges going for it, or against it, I should say. It's an interesting headphone amp that I do very much like, but I can see it not being great for everybody. What have I done wrong here? 2 seconds while I get this right. Oh, that's right. I remember when I did this last time for patrons, there were only a couple of screw holes that worked. Or I'm just not doing a good job today. It's probably that one. What's happening here? It's meant to be on properly. But she's not working. Oh, I see. Helps when you get the thread to hit the bottom, or sorry, I should say the screw to hit the bottom thread when you put it in. Let's try that again. Again, apologies if there's any harsh sounds here. Just looking at the other questions there, just pulled the trigger on the DX9, curious how this will eventually compare. The DX9 is going to be very different because it's got a DAC as well. So yeah, I don't think it's really going to compare. As an amplifier, I'm very confident that this is going to absolutely smash the DX9, but it's not a DAC as well, so it's very different in that regard. As for, is it better than the Enlium? Not exactly is my answer there. It's a different kind of amp. What I would say is it's competing with the Enlium. It's an amp at the fully fledged upgraded level. I do think it is an amp that will compete at that level for sure as a headphone amp. The power supply with these are always, I believe they're always going to come with superchargers to get the most out of them. Don't hold me to that one though, check that on the Burson website. But I believe this will come with the 5 amp supercharger at both levels, I think. But as I said, do check that on the Burson website. I want to do a quick sound test for you so you can hear the difference specifically between the Soloist fan and the Voyager. Shouldn't say Soloist, they're both Soloists. Between the GT fan and the Voyager fan. So I've got here, this is the Soloist 3 GT, which is exactly the same as the 3X, just single-ended. But in other ways, they're entirely identical. Same chassis, same fan, slightly different circuit, of course. So I'm going to plug this in now. And yes, I just saw someone comment on live television. Here we go again. I've never done this before, so hopefully you're going to hear something. Okay, that's powering up. All right, I'm going to hold this right next to the microphone, and hopefully you'll hear what's happening. So that's how loud the Soloist GTs get. If I now change over to the Voyager. Yes, Chuck, that photo was from a couple of years ago when I had long hair. That's exactly right. Okay, so now I'm going to turn on the Voyager. First of all, I'm going to hold it just here. And you should hear absolutely nothing because it is dead silent from the front. If you try really, really, really hard and put your ears right next to the vents, you may hear a tiny noise. But it's teeny tiny. Let me know in the comments if you were even able to hear the GT version, because even the GT version is pretty subtle, but it can be enough that you can hear it. Whereas with the Voyager, I literally had to get down behind it and stick my ear against those back heatsink vents to hear that there was even any kind of fan going on. So it's very, very, very subtle. I don't, unfortunately, just seeing the design, Professor, I don't have a subwoofer at this stage, and I don't yet have plans to get one in. I would like to get one at some point. It's just a question of budget, just funds. So at some stage, I will aim to get one, but I don't yet have it for this review. So some people are saying that it's near silent or silent. Could people hear the GT? Let me know in the comments if the GT was coming through louder. I'd be interested to hear that. The fact that some people are saying substantially quieter tells me that yes, I'm guessing that you could hear some of them. So Wayne's saying you're deaf in one ear, so this is fine for you. Yeah, and the other thing is these have got balance control, I think, from memory. Am I making that up? I had a feeling they had balance control, but maybe they don't. Yes, it has got balance control. I thought so, but it's been a while since I did a full thorough review of a GT range, or now the Voyager range. So that's kind of the key things I wanted to tell you about the design, the functions, etc. When it comes to sound, this is where things get, for me at least, quite interesting. The sound from this is I'm going to say significantly different than the GT range. And this comes down to, Burson have talked about the fact that there's a new output stage they're using here. And it's got a level of maturity, it's got a level of kind of refinement to it that we haven't previously heard from the GT range or from Burson in general. If you listen to the 3X GT or the 3 GT, this is probably going, if we go back to the original GT range before the update in 2023, The original range had a slightly what I'd call V-shaped sound. It was very subtle, but there was a level of extra energy in the treble that gave them a bit of sizzle at the top end. It gave them a slightly V-shaped kind of sound. I like it, I enjoy it, but when I compared it next to more refined amps, like someone mentioned the Silver Fox a minute ago, also like I've got the HEADPHONE Prelude over here on my desk. That's coming up for review very shortly. Comparing it to those more refined, kind of pure Class A or just very smooth, refined sounding amps, you certainly heard the difference. And in some ways, it made the GT range really enjoyable, really dynamic. But on the other hand, it could also make them a little bit less easy to listen to sometimes. And I found myself occasionally wanting to go back to other amps, depending on the headphones, the music I was listening, the mood I was in, etc. I'm finding that with the upgrade from the original GT range to the new 2023 version, there was a nice step forward in that regard. It became a bit more refined. And then going to the SPO2 modules for the power supply, that got better again. And they've taken another step with this new output stage. And so what you get if you go from a fully upgraded GT, so if we're saying like a Soloist 3X GT 2023 model with the SPO2s plus also with the 5 amp supercharger, that sound going to the Voyager gets better again, and it gets better in the sense that the mid-range has just a little bit more weight to it. It's not gotten thick, it's not gotten rich or smooth. So again, if we refer to the Silver Fox, for anyone that's read up on reviews of that one, heard of that one, the Silver Fox has got quite a rich sound to it. It's not, again, not thick and warm, but it's rich. The Voyager doesn't go that far, but it's got a sense of weight in the mid-range that compared to the Soloist 3X GT, I think people are going to consider this a more refined, more mature sounding amplifier in all the best possible ways. So it doesn't vastly change it in terms of overall technical performance, but I think in tonal performance it is better. What I don't know yet is whether or not that's going to come down to just the output stage or if it's also to do with the V7 op amps, and I'm going to be really interested to find that out. So the V7 op amps are in here as well as the new output stage, and that's where it's going to be really fun to get my hands on a set of V7s, because what I want to do is actually compare the V7s in the Soloist GT 2023 model and see what's the difference that's coming just from the output stage. Because as I understand it, other than the fan difference, the only other really significant difference from a sonic point of view is going to be the output stage, assuming that everything else like op amps, power modules, etc. is the same. The other thing that's going to be the difference there is in the output stage. So once I've got those V7s, I can bring everything about the 2023 to the same level as I say 2023, I can bring everything about the GT 2023 model to the same level as the Voyager and see exactly what that output stage is doing, and I'm really interested to find that out. So there will, of course, therefore, be a full review of the Voyager versus the Soloist GT 2023. And then, as I said, there'll be a separate video that's all about the V7 op amps when I get my hands on those. So that's what's coming. But the short, kind of quick first impressions is that this is a very mature amp, very refined. It is, in my opinion, a step up in sound quality, not a leap, but a good step. And I think it's going to put some real competition to more expensive amps like the Silver Fox, the Enlium, the HEADPHONE Preludes in that mixture. The Preludes are really lovely, so check out the review on that one when it comes out soon. And for anyone that wants to know, I think that review comes out very late December for the Prelude. Anyone that wants to catch it early, if you've been thinking about buying one of the Preludes, the channel patrons should get access to that one next week as an early access. So that one's coming. I may or may not be able to weave the Voyager into the Prelude review. It's all going to depend on... I've got to send this one back because it's a prototype. Burson will then send me a finished one at some stage when that's ready, hopefully within a couple of weeks. So that's what's all coming. Let's check out some questions. If anyone's got any questions at this point, pop them in the chat, because I'll probably wrap this one up soon-ish. There's not a lot more I can say unless it's responding to your questions. Any plans on reviewing the Gishelli Daisy? 110%. I cannot wait to get the Daisy in. Gishelli Labs are still wrapping up the Daisy, and so I don't know exactly when I'm going to get a unit that's in some way functional. It may be a prototype, I'm not sure, but yeah, Gino and Sherry and I have been chatting about that. I'm really, really excited to try that one out, and hoping it's going to become kind of my central testing DAC, because it's got so many outputs. I can run that one DAC and then feed it to 2 or 3 different headphone amps and switch between them really fast. It's going to be really exciting if that can happen. Any speakers in the pipeline? Actually, no. Good point. And I'll come back to the question about how heavy it is in a second, Wayne. I did the Revel M105s a little while ago. That's the only thing I've actually had recently in the pipeline. I am looking for my next set of speakers to review. I've just got to find speakers that are kind of near field appropriate and that I can somehow get a loan of. I can't afford to go out and buy all the products that I'd love to try. So I'm just looking around for kind of some appropriate near field type monitors that I can get my hands on. I do have plans to meet up with a local large retailer. I won't mention them just yet because I don't want to put any pressure on them and have expectations that they're going to do X, Y, or Z because we haven't talked yet. But I'm hoping to chat to a certain hi-fi retailer soon about doing some collaborations and getting some of their products in. So that should open that one up a bit more, but I don't know yet, Neil. How heavy is it? Good question. I would be guessing it's weighty. It's not at the level of like a Silver Fox or a Prelude. They're both heavier, but I reckon it's got to be pushing towards 5 kilos. I'd say. I'm guessing it's on the website. The Voyager is now listed on the Burson Audio website, and I'm pretty sure I put the link in the description for this live, so you can go check that out. But I'm guessing it's pushing up towards sort of 4 kilos, 5 kilos, somewhere around there, compared to the old 3GT. It's definitely heavier. Yeah, it's significantly heavier. I would reckon it's close to a kilogram heavier than the old GTs. And that's going to be largely in part to the fact that this has got such a grooved... You can't really see it because it's out of focus there. If I lean it into my plane of focus, see all the grooves there. You've got cutouts on the bottom. You've got the cutout on the top for the fan. There's a lot of cutaway metal and less height in the chassis from the GT. There's a lot more solid metal in terms of not cut away in the Voyager, and then there's also the internal plate that the motherboard is kind of bolted to, whereas I think in here it's bolted to the chassis. Yeah, it's basically bolted to the chassis here, whereas there's a separate plate in addition to the chassis in the Voyager, and then you've got all the heat sinks actually on the inside as well. So there's quite a lot more metal from what I can see in the Voyager, and that's going to be bringing extra weight. I don't think the component count is going to be much different, so much as the weight of the actual chassis in the case. Thanks, Wayne. I'll pass on the old speakers. I do like to review stuff people can actually buy still. What else? Have we tested the functionality of the Voyager? Tell me more about what you mean there, Ace of Spades, where you're saying, have I tested the pre-functionality, sorry. So yeah, pre-functionality, my mouse cursor was hovering over pre, so I couldn't see it. Yes, so I haven't done extensive testing yet. I need to bring the Timekeeper GT monoblocks back into my system, so I actually have need of a preamp. I'm running the Enlium currently as my speaker amp, so I need to bring the Timekeepers back in, and then I'll be able to test the preamp output from this and the 3GT to make sure that what we're hearing is the same from the pre-outs as it is from the headphone amps stage. I expect it will be. I don't see any reason it won't be, but I do intend to test that before the review, so I'll definitely be able to answer that then. Am I hearing enough of a step up in the Voyager to upgrade? That's the question, Kevin, that you've asked there is there a point going from a 2023 GT up to the Voyager? And I will answer that in the review. The reason I can't answer it now is because once you've got the 2023 Voyager, you could add the SpO2 power modules if you haven't already. You could also add the V7 op amps, and depending on your ability to resell the GT, it might be cheaper just to upgrade those components rather than go to the Voyager. But what I don't know yet is how close they're going to get once you do those upgrades, because there is still the output stage to think about. So that's going to be in the review. Is I'll specifically say, if you bring everything about the 2023 GT to the same level as the Voyager and therefore make only the output stage different, how much of a difference is that, and is it worth the upgrade? It could be one of those things where once you do that, they're different rather than better and worse. I don't know yet, so bear with me on that one. I'll have to let you know. Heat sinks on the side, not much actually. There's a little bit of grooving, which is no doubt going to increase. Sorry, let me get it focusing on that. It will increase the surface area. If it sees my face, it focuses on my face. It will increase surface area a little bit, but they're more just little ribs in the metal there. Also, I believe the color of this is not yet quite final. So if anyone's looking at that going, I don't like the color, it actually might change slightly. If anyone's looking at it going, I love the color, it might change slightly. So be aware of that too. Does it come with the same Burson remote? Yes and no. I think it's going to have the same types of buttons, and I think it probably is going to use the same IR codes, so you could continue using the one you've already got potentially, or if you've recorded it to a learning remote, they should still work, I expect. I don't know for sure. But based on the photos I've seen on the website, it's a slightly different design. It's not quite as narrow. It's going to have a bit more of a, it's going to kind of reflect the design of the Voyager a bit with these kind of, it's a chamfered sides where it goes off, beveled sides, whatever you want to call it. I think it's going to look a little bit different and therefore feel a little bit different in the hand. I think that's covered all the questions so far. So I think I'll just pause for a minute in case anybody else wants to jump in with any questions. I'm happy to answer them. What I'm going to do while I fill a bit of time here for any last questions is let you know there's some really cool stuff coming along the pipeline for the channel. Some things to hopefully get excited for. I've got the HEADPHONE / Golden Wave Serenade. That's the DAC and amplifier and preamp combo, headphone amplifier that is. Then there's also the Prelude, which is the pure headphone amp and preamp. We've also got, I haven't got much in the way of headphones. Oh, I've got one little, here's a sneak peek for everyone. These beasties here, if you think they look cheap, yes, they do look cheap. They feel a bit cheap too. Not bad cheap, but they don't feel premium. But what I've got here, these are the synaptic, or synaptic, I'm not sure how they're choosing to say it. The S1, I think it's called. Forgive me, I didn't prepare anything for this. I'm just talking about it to fill some time in case there's any more questions. But what these are, where they're a bit unique, is they're a pretty affordable, I guess you could call it a portable, wireless or wired ribbon driver headphone, open back. So there's a ribbon driver in each of these, amplification within the ear cups as well, because ribbons require their own amplification. So it's a battery-driven amplification system built into each ear cup, but the design is so that you can plug them in as wired and use the internal amplification. So you plug it into your normal headphone amp, and it's kind of the headphone amp will be like a preamp, and the internal amp here then provides the voltage for the ribbons. And then you can also do it as a wireless, so it's a fully Bluetooth capable headphone as well. So these are quite interesting. Being ribbon, they're pretty unique, particularly at the price point. The tuning is designed to be fairly transparent, not overly coloured, and I think they've done quite a good job. So that review is coming soon. I don't know when exactly yet on that one. So hopefully that'll be interesting to people. What else is in the schedule? Let me just check and give you a bit of a tease, shall I? Why not? Don't forget, if you've got any questions, pop them in the chat because we're going to wrap this up soon. Oh, yes, of course. Haha. Other things I need to tell you about. I've also got coming up the Shit Midgard. So it's over in... No, you probably can't see it on... No, you won't be able to see it. It's... the Shit Midgard is Shit's new headphone amp that has the... oh, why are things pausing there? Hopefully you're still all seeing this because on my screen it's gone slow, but it could just be because I'm streaming up and streaming down at the same time. Anyway, the Midgard is over there. It's Shit's new equivalent to the old Modia? No, Magnius. Magnius it was, which I never quite liked. The Midgard's really interesting though because it's using their Halo system, which is basically using a feedback process to improve the distortion figures and theoretically therefore maybe the sound of headphones connected through a balanced connection. And without giving too much away and recognizing its very early impressions from me, it's really interesting what they're doing there and potentially exciting. So that's another one that's coming, and hopefully you'll enjoy that one as well. There's some other stuff. I've got the Lumen D3 that I mentioned recently, the streamer. I've also got the HEADPHONE AMPS wired earphones, which I think are spectacular for their price. So check that one out too when it comes out. Some really good stuff coming. Let's check the questions and then we're going to wrap up. So, JTB, Burson offered the kitchen sink if you prefer. Yeah, I would imagine the pre-order will go for a little while. So if you do want to get in on the pre-order, check out the Burson website. They're normally pretty good at honouring some of those things, particularly working with reviewers like me. When they know we're doing a feature on something, they'll often bring around a bit of a deal to kind of help with those the various reviews that come out. So anytime you see a review of these pop up, if you're keen, if you're excited about it, do check out the Burson website. There's often a good chance to get those things, and therefore the pre-order might still be going. Yeah, no, JTB, that makes sense about the Midgard. That the halo effect is probably going to be most evident on dynamics. The way the feedback system is likely to work is controlling when a dynamic driver moves, because there's a coil going through the magnets, it's creating its own electromagnetic field and therefore its own signal. So it's like an echo signal almost. That's what the midguard is going to be good at kind of taking and getting rid of, and theoretically it might therefore control the driver better. But I don't think planers do that because it's a totally different setup with the way the diaphragm's moving between the magnets. So I'm going to be really curious when I'm going to do some tests, just basic tests with the little mini DSP rig, but I'm going to do some basic tests to see if distortion's changed, if the output's changed much between the single-ended and the balanced output, and we'll see which headphones it makes a difference on, which ones it doesn't, try and draw some conclusions and share all those measurements with shit as well. So it does make sense that you wouldn't hear a big effect on the Caldera. The AUN S17 Pro, I don't yet have plans for, but I want to. I'm going to try and reach out to somebody soon, whether it's AUN Direct or whether it's a local retailer. I will see what I can. I'll see what I can arrange for that one. And just checking out what else we've got down here. Burson Voyager. Yeah, so I will talk about the Voyager versus the TT2 headphone output. That's a definite, because one of the tests I always like to do is the output from the TT2 is very transparent because it's such a short signal path out of the DAC. And that's always an interesting test to see, are you losing anything or is anything being added by a downstream amp? So I'll definitely do that test with the Voyager. All right, there's just general chit chat going on there, so I might close things off at this point. I don't think there's anything else key there. I will drop back in as I always do and answer any other questions that come up in the comments. So let me know if you get any other questions that pop up. Drop them in the comments here, and I'll come back around. It might take me a day or so to get to them because there's lots of comments at the moment since the WEAM review went out, but I'll try and get to them as soon as I can. For now, though, I'll close it off here. Hopefully, I've answered some questions for you about the Voyager. The short answer here from me is that it's an awesome amplifier. It is a step up on the GT, the 2023 GT with the SPO2 modules. I just don't know yet what the difference is going to be once we add the V7 op amps to the picture, but we will get there. So yeah, stay tuned. I will answer as many more questions as I can, both online but also in the full review of the Voyager, which is going to be a little way away. We probably won't get to the full review until January at this stage, I'm guessing, but I will get to it and we'll continue to answer questions along the way through the chat, etc. So thanks everyone for jumping in. I hope you've enjoyed this, and have a great rest of your day, evening, etc. wherever you are. I'll see you here next time. Thanks everyone. Bye.